Hey, this is Steve Sharippa. You're listening to Jim and Florence on the forum, and make sure you listen.
It has been so much fun talking about movies. We had no idea everyone was going to be so into this. We've gotten a lot of requests to do more and more videos on movies, so it's something that we're thinking about. But wow, we didn't know this was going to get to be that big of a deal. We're so appreciative, and I'd like to introduce, obviously, our co-host, Keith Lyle, the great comedian and actor, and my partner, Florence Carmela. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Hi, Jim. Hi, Keith.
Hey, Florence and Jim. Yeah, everything's good.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's jump right into it. The top Italian-American. Now, some of you asked, are these going to be straight Italian films? And no, that's a whole different genre. So this is Italian-American, because I know some of you gave me some names I couldn't even pronounce the word.
My mother would have been perfect for that. My mom.
Oh, yeah. We'll have to have her on the show. Why don't you go first? And are you doing this in any particular order, or are you just kind of putting your top?
Actually, I'm just going to throw out some movies that have been all-time favorites, because it was actually harder to put them in order than it was to decide which one.
Okay, well, why don't you go first? Shoot.
I absolutely love the movie Saturday Night Fever with John Travolta. That is iconic. And me growing up in a very Italian family, my brothers actually can recite the lines from this movie and act out the scenes. I mean, between the Bee Gees and John Travolta's dancing and the storyline, being Brooklyn, New York, Brooklyn Italians in the house, I absolutely love this movie. Nobody agrees, I'm sure, but I love this movie.
Keith is a Travolta guy. You like this movie, don't you?
I absolutely agree. It was actually near the top of my list. And not just because Travolta got nominated for an Oscar, not just because in, the backstory off screen, his girlfriend at the time had just died of breast cancer, anything like that. I was a little boy when this came out. So there was no way my parents were going to take me to see this movie. But when I saw when I saw it later on as a teenager, say in the late 80s, disco was already, disco sucks, or maybe for some people it had come back, but it really captured New York City at that time in the mid 70s. Youth of a young adult, say 20, 21 years old in New York City, trying to make his way in life, having the family that he had, the father who was abusive, and the mother. I mean, it really the older brother who was a priest.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, it really pinpointed a place in definitely white America, because there's some race issues that are involved in the film, but definitely a place in New York City, like what the white youth of America, especially in the big cities, were feeling at the time. It really tasted.
Yeah. Interesting. I have never watched this film totally. I hate disco. I absolutely hate disco. I hated the premise, the dancing.
The Bee Gees.
I respect the story. But this was brutal. I have never watched this film.
See, here's the thing. I really, you have to open your mind a little bit, Jim, because you take the disco
Italian,
off.
Jim. It's Italian. You're not Italian. You don't know.
It's not like you're watching like the birth of ABBA or something. The music that was popular.
Okay, you just put chills down my spine. Stop it.
I mean, but the acting is unbelievable, and it really, what the story is trying to portray is just the youth of America at the time trying to make it, and that's really what the theme of the movie is about. The music is just part of it has nothing to do with it, but it's, just a regular kid trying to find his way in life. I mean, he works at a paint store. I mean, what kind of future is that?
Yeah.
And he's
I like the story. I like the story. If it was like closed captioned, I think I would like it.
Upwardly Mobile, which definitely was a theme through the 80s. And you could they're trying to get over to Brooklyn Bridge. It was really well done.
Yeah, I thought the story was
all
good.
Your preconceived notions out of it. I think the themes of the story, it's a good film.
I may see it one day, but oh boy, I would have to be. Here's some great trivia, extreme trivia that I found out about that. I like the trivia. According to our Mafia show and our Mafia friends, I read this story the Mafia actually approached and extorted money from the crew and the club that they filmed this at. In fact, one night, a small firebomb was thrown into the club, and there's no story whether they paid them off or they didn't pay them. So very
well, did
interesting.
they finish the film?
Yep, that's what I'm
Then
saying.
they got paid off, or they were in the movie somewhere. So one or the other.
Yep. What was funny is also at the start of the movie, Bee Gees weren't on board, and so they didn't even know who was going to do it. So Travolta was dancing. A lot of his moves, he said, he learned from Earth, Wind, and Fire songs and from Stevie Wonder. So
and a young Fran Drescher is in it.
Well, you know what? There was tons, 40%. This is how they save money. 40% of the cast had never acted in a movie before.
Yeah,
people like, Denny Dillon, Fran Drescher, Adrian King, Donna Pescow, Lisa Peluso, and also Ann Travolta and Helen Travolta, who both did cameos. So that's Florence's Please Save Me, Keith. Your choice.
I think another great film would be My Cousin Vinnie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Very good.
I love that.
Yes, a great film. Marissa Tomei won the Oscar for it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Pesci's in it.
She did.
Fred Gwynn, Herman Munster.
Great. He was good.
He will forever be remembered as saying, "Did you say Utes?" When Pesci goes, "The two Utes in question." It's just one of those lines.
Great movie.
It became a catchphrase. Great film, great story all the way through. Ralph Macchio's in it, another Italian guy. So I would definitely put that on any list of Italian films that are must-see.
This is very interesting. The American Bar Association, I didn't even know they had anything. They have the list of the greatest legal movies of all time, and this is the number 3 greatest legal movie of all time.
Wow. That is funny.
That just cracks me up. But this was actually, sadly, the final feature film for Fred Gwynn, who passed away. And he was, everyone that said it on the set, he was just an absolute dream. He was such a good guy. And they said that the whole cast, Marissa Tomei said they had a lot of fun. Joe Pesci was a blast. And Ralph Macchio was good. He was good.
He was
great. He was good in it.
The Karate Kid. The Karate Kid could do more than
which is another good Italian film.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Karate Kid.
Karate Kid. I thought it was.
I actually met Pat Morita one night here in Vegas. It was his birthday, and he was drinking. I was a very young man, and we actually had a nice conversation because Pat Morita is a stand-up comic, and we talked about being on the Ed Sullivan Show. And yes, Ralph Macchio played an Italian kid in that movie, so that should get an honorable mention.
This is some more trivia for this. Who was given the role of Joe Pesci's part before Joe Pesci? It was Jim Belushi. Jim Belushi turned it down, saying he didn't.
Wow. I'm friendly with Jim Belushi's son, and Rob, who was one of my improv teachers here in Vegas. We still talk from time to time. Wow, I didn't know that.
Also, what's funny is Marissa Tomei lost the Oscar in 2002 when she moved. She still cannot find it.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and Lorraine Bracco was the first choice of the role of Mona Lisa Vito. Yeah, Lorraine Bracco. A lot of people did not give this movie a lot of credit before it came out, and what made it a good movie is fans flocked. They loved this film, and I think that really changed everything to it. So,
well, I think that it would have been a different movie with those two actors in it as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's why it's so hard. When you see a script, it's so hard. I don't know how many people that listen have seen scripts that haven't been produced, but when you look at it, you can't really tell if it's good or bad. That's why so many times movies can't get made until people are attached to it. And that's why meetings take place and stuff, because the director says, this is my vision. The actor says, well, this is how I would play the character. And then they go into rehearsals. Even sometimes in rehearsals, actors will bow out or they'll get replaced and stuff just because it's so difficult. That's how difficult it is to make a film. The film film, beautiful movie. But the fact that two very good actors wouldn't take it because they didn't think it was good tells you all you need to know.
Also, someone that turned down a role was Christopher Lloyd. He was first considered for the role of the judge from Fred Gwynn, and Christopher Lloyd, obviously, from Back to the Future fame. So, and Taxi, obviously. So, wow, that is an interesting one. I am not going to steal. I am a good man to my woman. I am not going to steal two movies that I know are her favorites. So I am not going to say them. No. My pick is Marty. I love Marty. Yeah. What an amazing film. And I've seen that 100 times. One of my favorite films. I love the relationship he has with his friends, and also someone that had a cameo role in it that never got uncredited role was the gentleman that played in Gomer Pyle, the sergeant. Oh my gosh, I forget his name right offhand, but he was one of Marty's friends. And he was the one actually tried to talk Marty not into dating that girl, the girl that he liked. But it was a very interesting, it was a very interesting movie about an Italian guy still living with his mom, still huge ties to his family. And he was not the greatest looking guy, wasn't skinny. He was just a regular guy, but he was really nice. Betsy Blair played an amazing role as the woman, just kind of plain people that were having problems in the dating world. And they find each other, and it was just a really nice. I love the relationship between his mom and his aunt, and just everybody in this real classic New York Italian relationships. Just a great Frank Sutton was uncredited. He was the sergeant in Gomer Pyle, and he played Ralph, his friend. And Jerry Paris played Tommy. And Jerry Paris, obviously one of the most influential people, producers who did so many shows. He did Happy Days, Dick Van Dyke. He did so many shows. Yeah, he did. He was an amazing talent. I don't know if you guys have ever watched it.
I have.
I've seen it. I've seen it.
Yeah, great film. I believe Ernest Borgnine won the Oscar for it.
Yes.
Yep.
He did. I believe he did.
I remember, Ernest Borgnine was probably 90. I was dealing roulette one day actually, at the Venetian, and I look up and there he is standing there, and I went, Marty! And he laughed. He was just a real nice fella. He got along real well. And someone at the table said, you know, sir, I don't want to insult you, but you look a lot like Ernest Borgnine. And he says, I get that a lot.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, he was very affable, very nice fella. So yeah, that was a great movie too.
Yeah, I like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, one of the few movies that got 100% on it, and there was just so many great people, and just really a really neat film that makes you feel good. And won the Academy Award. He won a ton of awards for this show. Marty's my pick. Florence, you're up.
Okay. Well, you just mentioned a little while ago that there were two movies that you knew were my all-time favorites, and I will say my next movie is going to be, and this is a franchise, many of them would be Rocky. No Italian in the world is not going to mention Rocky Balboa. And I would say the first 3, if not 4 Rockies were just epic, especially the first one, obviously. Talia Shire, Sylvester Stallone, Burt Young. There just wasn't a bad actor in any of the Rockies. Hands down, Mr. T, just everybody who was involved. Absolutely. The first one, I'll be honest with you, I don't think Rocky has ever been on TV where I haven't stopped to watch it. If I catch it, I will watch it. I will have to watch it. Absolutely, especially that first one, or the first 2, I would say. Wonderful.
Definitely on my list, the first 3 Rockies. It was starting to get goofy by the 4th one.
Yeah, a lot of people say that.
You start with James Brown. Even Mr. T in the 3rd one and the Hulk Hogan, but it was still very good. But the first one, what a epic, probably one of the top films of all time anyway. And the story that Sylvester Stallone went through to be Rocky, because they would have made the picture. He was just an actor in New York and LA, and they would have made the picture. They would have bought the screenplay from him. But every place, anyone that wanted to produce it said, we got to get another actor, a bankable actor to be Rocky. And he went, absolutely not. And he held out. Yeah. And, the role of a lifetime. He'll always be known, no matter how bad he messes up his face, no matter what other roles, Rambo, all these other iconic roles he may have, he'll always be known as Rocky.
Yeah.
And I mean, what an inspiring film. As a matter of fact, I don't remember who told the story. It was a comic who was getting ready to do his first big like HBO special back in the day, and he went to Chris Rock for some advice, you know, to not be nervous, to, you know, get it right. And Chris Rock said, the night before your show, night before your taping, watch Rocky and then go to bed.
Yeah.
For inspiration. And that, I mean, that's how great of a film it is.
One of the most inspirational films of all time. Just,
absolutely. And, you know, he's Italian.
Yeah.
He's Italian. Oh, yeah.
Cut
The
me,
Italian
Mick.
stallion.
Cut me, Mick. Yeah, all that
Burgess
stuff.
Meredith,
So, oh yeah. So it was great. The interesting part about Rocky was the absolute, like you were saying, Rocky had no money in the bank. The movie studio punished him. They said the only way we'll let you, because they wanted either Robert Redford, Burt Reynolds, or James Caan to do the movie, and he said no way. And he said and they only wanted to give him $350,000 for the rights, and they knew they had a hit. Yeah. And he said no way at $100 bank, and he just said no way. And when he did it, even the directors of the film had to put up $100,000. The studio made them sign a contract. This goes over $1 million. You have to pay everything. You have to. So they had to actually mortgage their homes to get the $100,000, and then the movie went crazy. But what an incredible movie, and you got to give it up for Sylvester to standing his ground, and this became one of the amazing franchises of all time. And not just that, but then later, 30 something years later, to franchise it into Balboa, and then you know Creed. What's Creed? Yeah, to get it to Creed. Yeah. Really quite amazing, and they should be commended for that. You give you love. Talia Shire was amazing. They actually chose Carrie Snodgrass, good actress. She had played in some other roles, but she wanted more money. They didn't have any to give her, so Susan Sarandon auditioned, and they told her no, and they wanted Talia Shire, and they were the most money they spent on this movie was makeup. This is how cheap they were, and they asked Talia Shire, all the clothes that she wore in the movie were hers. She brought her wardrobe, and they had to use her own clothes. He actually went into the prop department and like, just like Charlie Chaplin, he got some old clothes, and that's how he got his leather jacket and his fedora. So amazing. We can go on and on, but Florence, you did Rocky, right? Keith's up next. Yes. I'm going to go back, and I know we talked about this film when we were doing our Mafia. I think you're going to take my film. I'm going to go with the classic A Bronx Tale. A good film. Yeah. It's just such a good film. That's another one when I'm going by on TV and it's on, I'll stop and watch it. I was fortunate enough to see Chaz Palminteri do this show live at the Venetian when I worked there. The one-man show that it came from, and it's unbelievable what he does. I mean, he's been doing it since the late 80s. And there's just so many, we quoted on Craps Games in the mid-90s, we quoted that film so many times. So many players mush. Someone put him in a bathroom with JoJo the Whale. Every time someone would, roll like 2 7-outs in a row, we'd be like, throw him in a bathroom with JoJo the Whale and Frankie Coffee. We would just quote that film nonstop. It really impacted, and just the entire theme of the film, what it's all about, really impacted me in a positive way. So, and it does pick up a piece of Italian American life in New York City in the 60s. So I would put that on my list of top 5 for sure. Robert De Niro's directorial debut. Yes. And so he did an amazing job. And what I liked about him is I read where he was director or whatever situation he was in a movie, he always helped people, and he was a great teacher. He still is. So a lot of people swear by De Niro. He may be weird in interviews, but on the streets, the sounds are he's a really good guy, and he really helps a lot of people. So this is really a great film. Yeah, it really is. I know it doesn't get enough acclaim. I don't even know if you can get it on DVD, and I don't know why they're so chintzy with it. Get it out there because it is such a good film. I know the guy who played the kid in the film had a rough go of it later in life and got in trouble and was in jail for a while. Maybe that's the reason. I don't know, but it's a really good film. Now mine, I was going to pick, I love Raging Bull. That's just an amazing film, but we already have a boxing film in it, and I know the other films that Florence is going to pick, so I'm not going to pick that.
No.
I'm going to pick Scarface, the original.
Oh, okay.
And we had talked about
Oh.
this. Keith was ready to kill me for saying Scarface with Pacino, but nope. The original Scarface, which the AFI say this is one of the greatest films of all time. And I don't know if I'd go that far, but it is a great film directed by the great Howard Hawks. And Dvorak is in it, Paul Muni, just an amazing cast. And it's nothing like the crazy Scarface that's in the 70s with Pacino. This is an actual real gangster film, and a lot of people feel that this is the greatest gangster movie of all time. I was reading so many people saying so many good things about this film, and it is just really, he's the head of a bootlegging syndicate. I mean, it talks about, and this is more the Chicago-based movie, but boy, just some incredible people, all about the mob. Little violent. This supposedly was the one that we talked about that is the most edited film in film history, in U.S. film history, because of at that time of the weird laws they had, and they would go over this film and they cut a lot of this out. So boy, for its time, all the violence that was going on, it would have been interesting to see an uncut version as this film. But I don't know if
it's a good pick.
Yeah, I know Keith's seen it. I don't know if Florence has seen it, but wow, this is an all-time great, 1932. Florence, have you seen it?
I've not seen the original. I've only seen the one with Al Pacino, but I have read about it, and all the things that you're telling us, all the great information you have, I have read some of that about being the most edited movie in history and the violence of the movie. But yeah, much different than Al Pacino's version of it, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
What
the only
was
thing in common is the name and the death.
My pick is Scarface from 1932.
Yeah, okay. This movie, I for sure don't think either one of you have on your list, but it's a movie from the 80s. I absolutely adore it. It is Moonstruck with Cher and Danny Aiello. It is such a good movie. I love this movie.
I knew
Great
you were gonna
movie.
pick
Yep, great movie, a chick flick type movie. I have never seen it. I have never even seen the trailer, but I've read about it. And
Nicolas Cage and Cher, Danny Aiello.
Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, very, very good movie. Good. Olympia Dukakis, I believe, was in it. Danny Aiello, obviously, and so very good movie. Good. But it's just not my thing. But yeah, excellent pick. Excellent pick.
Yeah, absolutely. Geez, I think it won 3 Academy Awards. You know, Cher and Olympia Dukakis, and I think the screenplay won.
There was a lot of different mistakes in this movie, which was very interesting. There was actually a mini book put out about some of the different things that it became kind of a funny thing to show the little mistakes that were in this movie. So, but everyone seemed to really like this. A great movie. I might even see this in the next week or two because it really was a good film.
The fact that she's Italian doesn't have as much to do with the film as any ethnicity could really fit into that part. You know, it could have been a Jewish woman, a Greek woman. It could have been any, you know what I mean? No matter what your ethnicity, relate to Cher. You're going to be able to relate to her bond with her father. I mean, I don't care what ethnicity, Black, Asian. It's about family. It's all relatable. So
I feel good about Florence's pick. I thought she was going to pick Night Fever or something, so I was a little worried. But
I picked Saturday Night Fever. I did that already.
What was the other movie? The movie after
Staying Alive.
Staying Alive. Yeah, Staying Alive.
No, I didn't even mention that because to me, it has nothing to do with the first one.
It really doesn't.
I missed that one too. So
it was actually if you liked the dancing of Saturday Night Fever, then you would like Staying Alive. It's just it's for people who wanted to see what happened to the character because they were so tied into the character. You wanted to know what happened next. So they got some money together, and John Travolta was a big star by then, you know, after Grease and everything else. And so they put the picture together, and
Sylvester Stallone produced and directed that, I believe. That's what got it going, was Sylvester Stallone got involved.
Yeah, I know his brother Frank did some of the music on it.
Yeah.
And it actually did very well. It did well on video, if I remember right. But yeah, no, that has nothing to do with Italian-American life at all.
Good. You guys are scarring me. Okay, Keith, you're next.
I'm going to go back to a movie I originally saw on videotape, and I saw it when videotape machines first came out. And my father rented it and said, "Don't watch this because it's rated R." And I was like maybe 12, which is like telling a 12-year-old, "Hey, make sure you see this."
Let's get our guys. Yep, we got to watch it.
Yeah, it's a movie called The Wanderers.
I know this movie.
1979 film. It has Ken Wall in it.
Yep.
It's really about Irish, Italian, American kids in the 60s, in a street gang.
Mm-hmm.
And what they go through and what was going on. And there was a couple of scenes that scarred me, definitely.
Yeah.
But the music, it was one of the first films, really. Well, I mean, you had American Graffiti use some of the music back into the 50s, but this film in 1979 used a lot of the music back into the early 60s. So it played into that nostalgia that we really saw in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Between Happy Days and Back to the Future and going, bringing back those times. And it was gritty and it was good. And I enjoyed it. I saw it again later on, just to make sure I wasn't crazy. And it was good. I did enjoy it. It's a good film and it holds up.
Florence, have you seen this?
No, I haven't, but now I want to. He's made me very curious. So
yeah, it's from 79. I think you'll like it. It is a good film and it's really good acting. I think Karen Allen plays a good part in it, and I think they have some really solid actors. No huge names in it, but they're really good. And I think this is something that at the time too, it kind of got a cult following, and it was based from an Italian gang in 1963. So they have drugs, weapons, stuff like that, adult life stories, and growing up in that situation. So I thought that was almost made my list. And what's interesting, and this was something my KISS friends had told me a long, long time ago, and I never forgot it. The Ducky Boys was a gang, I guess, that was in the movie. That's who they depicted it from. Ace Frehley, the guitarist from KISS, was a member of the Ducky Boys gang.
Wow.
When he was a kid.
Wow.
Yeah. So how's that for trivia?
Yeah. The story, if you have I have an older uncle and kid, he would tell me a lot of stories about, the club. They weren't called gangs then. They were called clubs.
Yeah.
In the early 60s. They weren't really gangs. They were clubs. And his club, he was Jewish guy, so he had the Jewish club, and they were all exactly like these guys, all of them. I remember I watched the film later on in my 20s with my mom, and she said, "These are like all your Uncle Barry's friends." Every one of them, it's the same thing.
Oh, my God. Yeah. And remember at that time, 79, remember the huge issue with a lot of these films, because a lot of parents, I remember they wouldn't let their kids watch some of these films because they felt it honored and glorified gang life. Remember, this was when the Warriors made a huge issue about, don't go see the Warriors or Boulevard Nights or Walk Proud or some of these, and the Wanderers, obviously. And it just became kind of a thing during that time that they were going to destroy the youth and all that with all these gang movies. But it was a great movie, great thing at that time. And I just think a lot of the things you see, a lot of these movies, especially Ken Wall, this was his first movie.
It was his breakout role.
Yeah, and he starred in it, so that's pretty awesome. I think that's
really good.
Yeah, he was very good. Now, I'm not going to take the next one because I know Florence is going to pick that one. No, I'm going to pick. This is one of the all-time movies. Martin Scorsese, what he did is he took his mom and his dad, and he made 3 short films about living in an Italian home and growing up as an Italian. And Martin Scorsese to this day says this is his best work ever, and it's called Italian American. It's from 1974. He actually has his real mom and his real father play the roles. Charles Scorsese, who was a character actor, and Catherine Scorsese was a character actor. You'll remember her mostly for Tommy's mom in Goodfellas.
Right.
So, and she's very funny, very obviously we're both not still with us, but great character actors. And this is so funny. If you are an Italian person, you have got to watch this because it literally depicts the relationships with each other, with their relatives, how they eat, how they want you to eat. how they made. They even Martin Scorsese even gave recipes for his mom in this film. It is the funniest movie. It's 3 shorts.
Oh, I gotta see that.
Oh, it is this to me might be the greatest Italian work I've ever seen. You cannot stop laughing, and if you're Italian friends that have said this is their favorite by far because it makes them think of their parents, makes them think of their grandparents, the way they make you eat until you die, just the whole thing. They go through actual meals, and it is just so funny. So this is something that you got to see. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's called Italian American by the great Martin Scorsese.
I'm going to have to see that.
I'm going to have to look for that one, too. Yeah. You're coming up with some good ones I've not seen yet, though.
Yeah, this will be a funny one, I think, for you and your mom to watch, Florence, because maybe your mom will like it after a while, but it is so funny just looking at the way an Italian mom is, Italian grandma, the father, the way he care, just a really cool, funny, good loving. It's not mean-spirited at all. It's just really funny. Great people. So again, Italian American. Florence, you're up next.
Okay, well, I might as well say the movie that you keep alluding to, and everybody has this on their list. Yeah. Of course, it's The Godfather. How could you not?
You can't. You have to.
About Italian American movies and not include The Godfather somewhere in the top 5. So absolutely, come on, Marlon Brando, Al Pacino. You've got Talia Shire. De Niro was in the second one.
Right.
I mean, come on. What can you say?
It's another one of the.
Go ahead,
yes.
Keith.
I was going to say it's another one of the top 10 films of all time, in my opinion. Yes. Maybe even in the top 5. You can't even mention it, and it almost is like we have to say in this. Okay, name your top 5 Italian American films, but we already know Godfather's on there, so don't even bother.
Exactly. That's why I didn't mention it.
Everyone knows it.
Yeah,
of course, if we didn't say it, Jim would get all the DMs. So someone had to say it. And I'm glad it was you, Florence.
I felt like it had to be said, even though I know everybody already knows.
Now, I got 2 questions for you, Florence. Keith and I went through this pretty good. One, which one do you like better, Godfather 1 or 2? And the next question, what is your grade of Godfather 3?
Okay. As far as which one I like the best between 1 or 2, this is really difficult because I loved both for different reasons. Mm-hmm. I will have to say the first one. Just like Rocky, I loved the first 3 or 4, but you always have to say the first one. As far as Godfather 3, I think I just have a soft spot for it. I know it wasn't a great movie. His daughter was not supposed to play Al Pacino's daughter in this. She wasn't supposed to be Mary. Actually, it was Winona Ryder, but then she got sick and couldn't finish the role. My mom loves the third one because of the opera in it. Oh, my God. I guess I would give it an honorable mention. It wouldn't be in any of my lists, per se. I would give it an honorable mention just because it's part of the franchise. I mean, again, it's Al Pacino. It's that movie, that character. And again, I think that the casting just wasn't perfect. I loved Andy Garcia. I'm a big Andy Garcia fan.
Great actor. Yeah.
A great actor. And I think he was wonderful as Vincent, as Sonny Corleone's illegitimate son. I think that bringing him in, that character, he was perfect for it. But yeah, it's hard to give it a grade of any sort because, again, I think it just has a soft place in my heart. But definitely the first, I would say Godfather 1. 2 is a very close second. And then, of course, Godfather 3, I would just say for sentimental reasons, if that makes sense.
Now, Keith, before I get a comment from you, I wanted to give you a couple trivias. This I never knew. When Francis Ford Coppola gave the role of Don Vito Corleone to Marlon Brando, Orson Welles contacted him and said he would do anything to get the role. Wow. Coppola, who is a huge Orson Welles fan, said if he had not talked to Marlon Brando, he would have given him the role.
Would have been a different movie.
Yep, totally different
I could not imagine.
Also, they did this on purpose. Whenever you see in a scene oranges, someone dies. It just very interesting, and they do that. They did that on purpose as kind of a mental, as a mental thing. So very interesting. Wow. What are your thoughts of this, Keith?
Well, I totally agree with Florence as far as the ratings of the films, the first one's the best, the second one's close, and the third one, yeah, it's all right, I guess. You know, you get to see how the characters are doing. There's, you know, a couple of good catchphrases in there, but it wasn't what the first and second one was. But the thing you were saying about the oranges, that's the thing about films. There are times, that's why you got to watch them once or twice or three times, because there's things that are in there that are foreshadowing and telling you something that filmmakers put in there on purpose. And the oranges was one of them. It was like a clue, a code. Like if you watch something and it rains, something bad's about to happen. Always.
Now here's
Always.
Yep. Now here's two amazing trivia pieces. In 1974, NBC premiered the movies over 2 nights, Saturday, November 16th, and then Monday, November 18th. They played them from 9 to 11 due to the content of the films. They didn't want to play them when kids were up. At 11 p.m. in the City of New York, the municipal water authority said that every system in New York overflowed.
Yeah,
due to everyone going to the bathroom after the movie was done.
Yeah,
because they all wanted to watch it and not miss one thing. Now
there was no videotape back then. There's no DVRs.
No. So another thing is Francis Ford Coppola did not want to play Talia Shire in her role. He felt that Hollywood would destroy her because of nepotism. Mario Puzo contacted him and demanded that Shire be in the movie, and he made her audition for it. Very, very interesting trivia in the back of the story. Also,
for the first one. He was for the third one because that was his daughter in the third Godfather.
Right.
So
well, you know, kids. He'll dump his sister, but he won't dump. But that's another story. But anyway, the last thing on this, Sergio Leone was approached at first to direct the first Godfather. Interesting. Also, a young Sylvester Stallone auditioned for the roles of Paulie Gatto and Carlo Rizzi, but he did not pass the casting.
Wow.
Stallone then decided to write The Lords of Flatbush.
My list, but there is a movie about an Italian American, an inspirational Italian American hero. I think everyone may have seen a fairly recent film. It's called Unbroken. It is about Louis Zamperini, who actually went to the 1936 Olympics, later fought in the World War II, and was stranded on a boat in the middle of the Pacific for I don't know how many days. Got picked up on his 47th day, I think, by the Japanese. Was in a prisoner of war camp and survived the whole thing and came home.
Amazing.
I think he was in there he was tortured for a couple of years in the camp. And he recently passed. I think that the movie came out. Angelina Jolie directed it.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing some interviews of her and him together. And they became friendly, of course. And he passed away in 2014. He was, I think, 97. I don't know. He was able to see I think he died before the movie came out, but was able to see it be filmed, or at least most of it. It's just a really amazing film about an amazing guy.
Yeah.
That's another one I need to go look up.
It's very, very good. If I'm not mistaken, had gone back and had met some of the captors, some of the war criminals, the Japanese guys, and since he was Christian, such a devout Christian, he forgave them for what they did.
Wow.
So I mean, that's strong.
That's deep.
Yeah, it's very. I enjoyed the film, but it's not about Italian American life, but it's about an Italian American, so I put it in my list, and you guys named all the other good ones already.
Yeah, I watched this film and I really liked it. I think that Angelina Jolie did a really good job. This is a very well done film, and it's another one that you should watch. In World War II, people forget the huge role that pilots played. They have different kinds of planes, and a lot of these planes would actually have bombers that they would dive bomb the boats, and right when they'd get like 1,000 feet from the boat, they'd be shot at with all these guns and all these. And then if they did make it and survive, what ended up happening is they would drop a bomb, and then the bomb would hopefully hit the boat and then explode it and destroy the boat. But only maybe, I think some of these missions, only something like 8% of the plane survived. Yeah. And so a lot of these guys, and then they would wreck, and then they would become captors. If you watch the Battle of the Midway and how we attacked Japan, and it was amazing. A pilot's life was not a good one in World War II. I'm telling you, this one
we could all learn from. Forgive a little bit.
Oh yeah,
Hold the grudge.
This is it. I'll do the last one. I'll put my brains on the table. Goodfellas. You got to have Goodfellas on the list.
Another one that you have to have on the list.
I was waiting for someone to say that movie.
I was waiting for Florence to pick this, and I was going to lose my pick and pick Raging Bull, but I think this movie is just so well done.
Yeah, all in all, a great film, great pick. It's another one, and Raging Bull too. These are films that, like, okay, the best Italian films, but we know these are on everyone's list. Besides those, because we all know Goodfellas is probably the best film of the '90s.
Yeah,
one of the best films of the '90s for sure, and quotable, and it goes without saying. So yeah, one of the best.
Yeah, I love this film. What's your thoughts of Goodfellas, Florence?
Oh, I absolutely love that movie. I agree with Keith. It's probably the best movie of the 90s. And also, you don't have to be an Italian to love this movie. But again, there's so many memorable scenes. And I remember just when Henry Hill used to be on the Howard Stern show all the time. Me too. And Henry would come on and talk to Howard about the movie and about the real life story and the stories behind the movie and the book. And it's just so captivating. And again, the actors, I mean, the people that they got for these roles. I mean, the guy who played Henry Hill in the movie looks nothing like Henry Hill in real life.
Ray Liotta.
Ray Liotta. He had talked about that. I mean, Howard would say, like, you would never think Ray Liotta would be Henry Hill if you met Henry Hill and you got to see what he looked like and got to talk to him for a little while. It's kind of funny how they do the casting. But again, I mean, Ray Liotta was perfect. And like you said, De Niro, Pesci, you really can't go wrong with a cast like that.
Karen.
Yeah.
That was good stuff, Karen.
Oh.
On the toilet, Karen. That's just...
Yeah, why did you do that? They would have found it. Yeah, that was great. And here's another tied to, boy, I tell you, the great cast, the Godfather always seems to rear their head during these movies. Al Pacino was offered the role of Jimmy Conway. He turned it down because he felt that he was being too typecast. Guess what movie he agreed to do instead of Goodfellas? Dick Tracy.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Later, he admitted it was a horrible decision.
Yeah.
And of course, that's one of your big bombs.
Yes, it is,
Keith.
Warren Beatty.
And then
Warren Beatty, Madonna.
Yep. Oh yeah, and then Henry Hill said that he got sick of De Niro because De Niro would call him 7 or 8 times a day to ask him questions about how to play the role. And he said De Niro was a nice guy, but good Lord, he said he just got sick of answering the phone after a while. It was
trying to make a movie. That's what you do. That's what actors do. They try to get it right. They want to get the right emotion.
Doing his homework.
Yeah, and then a little negative stuff. Paul Sorvino, one of my favorites, character actors.
Oh, I love him.
3 days before filming began, he tried to quit. He said his personality as a character was horrible. He called his agent, and they said that they wanted out. They told Scorsese he wanted out, and they didn't tell him literally a day before. So Sorvino looked in the mirror and was frightened by the look in his face. He realized that he needed to play Paulie in a different way, and they allowed him to, so all was forgiven. But it was a very, very weird situation. So the things in these movies, which I'm finding out, is that it's amazing the backstories and how many times a movie and the history of the movie could have been changed because someone did or didn't take a role. I love the trivia of these movies. It's crazy.
Yeah, I love the trivia. I love that information, that behind the scenes, those backstories. I love hearing stuff like that.
Henry Hill's character was so desired by everybody that Tom Cruise, Nicolas Cage, Sean Penn, Alec Baldwin, and John Travolta all reached out to Scorsese to play the role.
Wow.
I can't imagine anybody else but Ray Liotta, but those are interesting guys to think about in that role.
I can't imagine Tom Cruise. I could imagine other guys, but then you're talking about the financing of the picture.
Yeah.
Ray Liotta costs far less money.
Yes, yes.
And, you already got De Niro headlining the film. So, and Liotta was he was not an A-list star, but he was on his way up. So,
yeah.
Like Travolta, I could see that.
Put him on the map. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Travolta, I could see that too. But yeah, this put Ray Liotta on the map. Definitely.
Yeah. Great actor. And I think that they did. Roger Ebert called this the greatest mob movie of all time.
It's up there.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely
era for sure.
Oh yeah, this is an amazing list. We encourage all of you to watch these films, celebrate our Italian American friends, and if you're in the family, celebrate their great talents, because if you look at the generations, the amazing things that they've given us through the arts, you look in the 70s, how do you find a movie greater than The Godfather 1 and 2? And again, you look later in the year, how do you find a movie better than Goodfellas? I mean, these are not just great mob movies that, they talk with funny accents. These are some of the greatest movies of all time. Marty, Oscar winner. I mean, Italian American, Scorsese said it's better than anything he's ever done, and he's done some of the greatest mob movies of all time. So please celebrate these movies, check them out, tell us what you think about them. We're going to sneak peek this weekend, and then we'll put this out Monday. We hope you guys enjoyed doing it. A lot of you want us to keep doing movies of some kind. We're thinking about it. I'll talk to Keith, I'll talk to Florence, because it is really fun, and it seems like everybody is so into this. So yeah, we'll see what we'll get up to. But again, please enjoy this, and please enjoy the movies. Thank you to Keith and Florence, and thank you for listening. Take care.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you for having me.